everybody. Kerry Anne King here today again, and I am absolutely excited about today's guest. We are going to be talking to the illustrious and awesome and ever wonderful Barbara O'Neill. She is also a friend of mine, so I am extra excited to get this chance to catch up because we've both been so crazy busy all summer that we have not had time to talk. So we are going to talk about Write My Name Across the Sky and a whole bunch of other really fun and exciting things that are going on in Barbara's life. And I'm going to bring her on right now instead of leaving her languishing backstage so you guys can all say hi. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. And I'm just so incredibly grateful that you found time for this because y'all, not only is Barbara have a brand new book out on Tuesday and is writing another one, she has all these other news. I'm going to let her tell you some of it, but she's just moved back into her house after having been out of it for a while. And well, the other big news is really big news. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, but we have to talk about the book first. So congratulations on the book, which is Write My Name Across the Sky. What an amazing title that is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us straight up front, where did you come up with that title for the book?
Yeah, as you know, titles don't often just show up.
Right.
This book was this title from the very first. That was just what the name of the book was. Got a little pushback because it's a really long title as these things go. But we counted out the letters and when we believed in mermaids, and it's only one character longer. So we were able to sort of talk, the powers that be into it, which I just think it's a great title. And I have to say, your background is fantastic. It's a perfect match.
I went looking for that. So yeah, it's such a beautiful book. The cover is just glorious and suits the book totally because as I get to know, because I read it and it's awesome, there is a lot of artwork discussed in this book. And so that cover really looks to me kind of like a Monet or something like that.
I think they did a great job with, I have the hardcover and it's like, you can just, I have a hard time getting it.
I know, it's always fun.
See the brush strokes. This artist has just done a great job. She's done several of my covers and I just think she does a wonderful job.
Yeah. Well, and it's right on brand with the mermaids and the girls of Devonshire, right?
I know. Right.
Sorry, I tripped over that title for a minute, but it matches. It's right on for all of your branding. And I see you have a little painting behind you on the
I do actually. This is if you see that way, you can see
the other way.
Goes into into my I know that's where the painting is, but that's where the rest of the remodeled house is. You can kind of get a glimpse of the kitchen that I just redid. And this is the studio space. And I actually have my granddaughters here this week for Nana Camp. So they are with their crafts and things to be quiet. And I had to come in the studio because believe it or not, as crazy as it is in here, it's my office is even worse. There's just so many things that were there. But this actually is a painting I did at the other house while we were waiting just to, I miss the ocean, through the pandemic. I just miss the ocean so much. So I spent a lot of time painting it actually.
So for those who don't know Barbara, she paints besides being a writer. And so this is such a wonderful, I want to call it a hobby, but I think it may be more than that. I don't like the word hobby, actually. Do you have a better word?
I don't know that I have a better word. I think it's just one of the things I love doing. I think hobby gets a bad name because it's like, the amateur hour or whatever. But I think there's nothing wrong with that. An amateur is a really passionate pursuit of whatever it is that they love. And I think those things are kind of the things that set us apart, like the guy who builds a whole town in his basement and has his trains running through it. I think that's so sweet.
My brother-in-law.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. My dad loved it too. He really loved that stuff.
Yeah, down in his basement, he has this entire, all this really cool trains and the little villages and all the stuff. It's very little wonderlandy to me. And I think it's very cool. I was thinking maybe creative outlet. I don't know what it is about the word hobby that bothers me. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just not a pretty word, hobby.
I agree with you. Yeah.
So the painting is just beautiful, and I love the colors.
Thank you.
Looking at that. And for us, looking in your studio, it looks perfectly like you and a painting. You don't see any chaos.
Maybe I've just got the camera just right.
So perfect.
You can't see it. Yeah.
That's perfect. And I love that you paint. I did get to go to the ocean for a little bit at the beginning of this summer. It was research trip for the book that I'm writing now. And it was glorious because I also love the ocean. I do not get there enough. Right.
We actually took a trip to Santa Monica to see my son in June. And so I got some ocean time then. But I kind of like moody oceans, and the Southern California ocean is always so it's the Beach Boys. It's beautiful and it's sunny and it's warm and all that. And I did get my fix of waves, but I'm really looking forward to that trip up the coast. We're going to take a trip up the coast from San Francisco to Portland.
Okay. And we're going to talk about that right now. I was going to talk about your book first, but let's talk about the big news, and then we'll go back to the book because we'll just naturally follow that little seg. So you're taking this trip as part of
my wedding trip. It's my wedding trip. I have been with my partner for 16 years, but we decided, I guess it was probably in December, that we wanted to actually make it official and have an actual ceremony and get married. And so we've been planning this, and it's on September 4th. It's right around the corner. And that will be our wedding trip, is to travel up the coast.
Oh, how awesome and wonderful. So are you doing like a ceremony where you're inviting people, or just the two of you?
We are doing the whole 9 yards. I ordered a dress. We have caterers coming in for the reception. We have a cake. We did a cake tasting, which I've never done, and that was really fun. We have people coming. Most of them are pretty local. We have some people who are coming from further away, but not very many. My son's coming from Santa Monica, and my partner has a couple of friends that are coming. So, but mostly it's just here, and it's not going to be a giant ceremony. And we are going to have the reception in our newly remodeled house. So there's a little pressure there to get things back on the walls. I mean, it just was finished 2.5 weeks ago. We really thought it was going to be done before this, but that's how life goes sometimes.
And I'm just looking at as for things that create a little chaos in your life, and the beautiful chaos, but still chaos, and maybe a little of the good kind of stress. Of the things on the top of the list that I can think of, one would be not living in my house while it was being remodeled. One would be having a book come out. One would be writing another book. One would definitely be getting married.
There's a few stressors in there, for real.
You know how to do all the things, but still at the same time, all of that good, amazing energy. And those are all awesome, positive, good vibe things.
They are. I mean, they're all wonderful. So
yeah.
You just roll with it. Sometimes life is kind of quiet and, unassuming, and sometimes it isn't. So you just kind of go through the cycle as it shows itself to you.
And then everything happens at once. Oh, I have to add Nana Camp in there because
Nana Camp. That's right. That's right. I kind of actually thought about not having Nana Camp this year, but I love it so much.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to be with my girls, and their mom had to go off to a training thing for the Air Force, so she had to be gone. So Nana Camp.
Right. That's awesome and wonderful. So circling back where we should have probably started with the book. And we did start with the book because you showed us the beautiful cover. So Write My Name Across the Sky is Barbara's newest release. It has, by the way, already hit the top 100 on the Amazon charts, which is really fantastic. Not that I'm at all surprised because it's a Barbara book.
Thank you.
So, Barbara, tell us a little bit about what the story is about.
This story came to me because I was completely fascinated for the longest time with the group of women who were the first big wave of flight attendants. They were called stewardesses then in the 60s and 70s and into the 80s, when they really started winning like the war against like being weighed every day and all of those things. They really fought for like women's rights and managed to keep their jobs. But they were so interesting because at a time when women like really couldn't even have a credit card, you couldn't buy a house without a man's signature. There was very little freedom in the late 60s, early 70s for women. And these women were flying all over the world, doing all kinds of exciting and adventurous things. And Gloria, who's one of the main characters in this book, is a 74-year-old Instagram influencer, and this is her past, is being a flight attendant on TWA. And just kind of some of the things that she did in her youth were a teeny bit shady, and they've caught up with her. Now she's got to sort of deal with the consequences. There's a lost love, and she has two nieces who are the progeny of her very troubled, addicted sister who died of an overdose, a heroin overdose. She was a rock star and she ended up killing herself. So she's kind of mothered these two women, Willow and Sam, who both have pretty big challenges themselves. Willow has just had a terrible and public failure with one of her albums. She really wants a career in music, and everyone's just saying, really, do you think you can do this? And she's sort of at that point where, am I going to give it up and go lead tours on cruise ships, or am I going to keep trying? And her sister has a failing business, a game business, and her challenges are really more personal. She has to kind of get her act together. She has some pretty big blocks to her own happiness that she has to work through. And she was such a fun character to write. She was prickly and not very pleasant and, mean to people. And she has these weird allergies. And I loved her.
Well, so did I. And so you did, when you can pull that off, where you write a character like that who is still lovable and you understand where they're coming from, that's brilliant. And you did a lovely job of that. I also feel like all three of those characters have that, it fits with the title. They're all were at some point pursuing fame or are pursuing it now and want that, my name across the sky. And so there we have it. I love also that we have an older character who's an Instagram influencer,
right?
Biting that trend that all old people, older I got to start being really careful with that. Older people can't do anything with the internet or understand technology, right?
It's kind of ridiculous because, baby boomers were, navigating services like Genie, which you had to know basic programming to actually get into the service and like be part of the social community. I'm like, people were on the internet before a lot of millennials were even born. So,
right.
Not like we don't know that stuff. I will also say though, too, that I think that one of the reasons I like Gloria so much and her attitude is that like inside she doesn't feel any different. And I think that all of us have had that feeling, no matter if you're, turning 35 or you're turning 90, you kind of go that inner person, that young person who still wants to dance to that favorite song is still there. And boy, go ahead and dance. That's what Gloria's feeling is. She wants to give permission to other women like herself to just go ahead and be that person that you have it in you to be. You don't have to follow any rules.
Right. Yeah, she's fabulous. I love her. And then, of course, her ex-lover. Can we talk about him a little bit and what that's all about, or is that giving too much away?
I think we have to be kind of careful. Yeah. But Isaac was her great love. She met him in Casablanca, which I just love. He was an Israeli artist and was trying to make his way. And they had a passionate, torrid affair for many years in many cities, but they were never able to really get together in the more traditional way. And he is currently in trouble. That's the thing that kind of brings everything to a head.
Right. And we're not going to talk about the kind of trouble that he was in, but It's so fun. I just, this whole book, I love the themes that go through it, the music and the art and the romance and the family relationships, which are a little bit different than show up in a lot of women's fiction novels. I feel.
That's for sure. Yeah, they're different.
Yeah.
I also like it is so escapist. I mean, starting with the apartment on, the Upper West Side, I swear every time I turned it into someone, like my agents and the younger agents in that agency are all in New York City, obviously. And they're all like, I have dreamed of having an apartment like this my whole, ever since I came to New York. I'm like, of course, because all of us have, like, who wouldn't want that apartment? It's fabulous and storied, and like that just sets the tone. I think it's a very escapist novel, and I did write it during the pandemic, so it was my escape.
Right.
And that comes through.
Well, it does, I think, because you love all those things. So you gave yourself art and music and a rooftop garden and, all of the things that you love.
A Victorian greenhouse, that would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wonder, I forgot to ask you this, so you're allowed to say no, but straight up front, are you willing to read a page or so for us?
I actually hadn't picked one out, but I mean,
I often ask people to just read the first page. And the reason for that is when I'm selecting a book, this is what I always do. I look at the cover, I read the back cover, then I pick it up and I read the first page.
All right, I can do that. Would you like to read the first page now?
Yeah, if you would do that, that would be fantastic.
I will do that. I'm so glad I got a copy of the book out there because
I'm glad you did too.
That would be important. All right.
Well, I knew you had one because you showed it to me.
That's true. Okay. Chapter 1, Gloria. I'm setting up a photo shoot when I hear the news that Isaac has been arrested. For a long moment, it doesn't sink in. My body reacts ahead of my mind, warning me with a long ripple over my spine as I tweak the red shoes sitting beneath a lady slipper orchid in the soft green environment of the conservatory. Then his name penetrates my brain, Isaac Margolis. I lift my head and look at the radio, as if it will show me his long-lost face. My heart pauses as if bracing to be shattered all over again, then starts up again with a hard thud. Isaac. All these years I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop. Now it falls like a meteor into my world when I have finally relaxed into this rich, ordinary life filled with music and my Instagram photos and monthly luncheons at the Russian tea room with the dwindling number of former flight attendants I've known for more than 50 years. I sink into a chair nearby the table, and listen to the BBC announcer explain that the suspected art thief and forger was picked up by Interpol in Florence at the end of a decades-long search for missing works of art.
That's just so awesome. When I read the book, I was immediately in first page. There we are. And you pulled out all of the little stops that tweaked my attention. So super fun. And, so let me ask you about what's happening next with your writing. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're writing now? I know sometimes you can't talk about the new book too much, but what's next?
The next one is a book that has been on my mind for literally years. I mean, it sort of came out of a joke, but my ex-husband is an extremely charming, big personality. And the big joke between my partner, Neil, and I is that if someone killed him, there would be so many people who would have good reason to kill him, but there would be also so many people who would defend him as being this thing. My family loves him more than they love me, and that is not a joke. They're so excited that he's actually coming to my wedding. So he's this big, jovial, loving, philandering, sort of no rules guy. I mean, he's really fun to be around, and he's just been on my mind. I think a lot of us have people like that in our lives. So in this book, Augustus Bouvet has dropped dead, and there's his ex-wife and his 2 daughters and some people around, a lot of women around his current mistress. are all like, well, what happened? And it's sort of the story of him, but it's really the story of his oldest daughter who has suffered at the hands of this carelessness. I mean, he loves her and she loves him, but she's furious and she's just gotten out of rehab. So she lost her chance to have it out with him. And it's really basically her story trying to come to peace with the kind of people that sometimes we're just stuck with our families, right? Like you're stuck with them. And it's still sort of in the rewrite stages, so it's still a little bit raw and it's not easy to like express, but that's basically the story.
Oh, you've expressed it extremely well, and I'm very excited about reading it. Does it have a title yet? A tentative one?
It does not, because it has a really, really, really long working title, which is "Don't Tell Anybody the Secrets I Told You," which is I always want to say Bonnie Raitt, but it's the other one. My brain is locking. Never mind. It's from a song.
Okay. All right. Well,
Lucinda Williams. Thank you. There you go.
Okay. There you go. You knew it would come sooner or later. All right. And when can we expect to see that?
It'll be out next, I think July is where we're currently looking.
Okay. How fun. So, and right now, everybody, Write My Name Across the Sky just came out on Tuesday, so you can go grab that now if you have not already. Barbara, where can people find you if they want to follow you a little more closely? So you have a website.
I have a website, barbaraoneal.com. I'm on Facebook as Barbara O'Neill. I'm on Instagram as Barbara O'Neill Author, and on Twitter, I think just as Barbara O'Neill. So I'm everywhere.
As Barbara O'Neill.
As Barbara O'Neill.
Yeah, and Barbara is pretty easy to find. So if you're listening to the podcast version of this and can't see our little names up here on the screen, it's Barbara is spelled in the traditional way. So it's Barbara, Barbara. O'Neill is O and a little apostrophe, capital Neal. I keep wanting to add another E on the end of that for some reason. I'm always having to fix that.
Yeah, people do all the time. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Who knows why? It's the same reason people want to add E's and to Schaefer, I imagine. It's just you get your brain trained one way. And so huge congratulations on the wedding, which is just as big a deal as the book, and maybe bigger. I have to put things in perspective. So congratulations on that. And on getting back in your actual house. And
that's heaven, actually. It's heaven.
All the things.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here today. Everybody, I will be back again next week with another Barbara. I'm having Barbara's trend here. Last time we had Barbara Josselson on last show. Next week we have Barbara Davis. And the week after that we have Willa Reese, but her name is actually also Barbara.
So that's so funny. I just read Barbara Davis's new book and it is absolutely wonderful.
It is. I also have read it and it's absolutely fab. So be here again to hear what the next Barbara has going on. Check out Write My Name Across the Sky. And thank you again so much, Barbara O'Neill, for being here today and for making time to join me in the middle of all the crazy.
Thank you for having me, Kerry. It was good to see you.
It was good to see you too. Bye.
Bye.